Ever heard of a case that has baffled investigators for over half a century? Enter the world of the D.B. Cooper saga. This is the tale of a man, known to us only as D.B. Cooper, and the audacious act that etched his name into the annals of aviation history. It's a story that begins on a nondescript November afternoon in 1971 when a man boarded Northwest Orient Airlines flight 305 from Portland to Seattle. His ticket bore the name Dan Cooper, but the world would come to know him as D.B. Cooper. This man was no ordinary passenger. He was about to commit an act that would both astonish and bewilder. While the plane was mid-flight, he handed the stewardess a note. It revealed a startling claim. He had a bomb. His demands were simple: $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. Upon landing in Seattle, his demands were met and he released all the passengers. Then, with only the flight crew on board, he instructed the plane to take off again, headed towards Mexico. But D.B. Cooper had no intention of reaching Mexico. In the cover of night, somewhere between Seattle and Reno, he did the unthinkable. He jumped out of the plane, cash and parachutes in hand, into the cold, dark night, and just like that he vanished, leaving behind only a series of baffling clues and an enduring mystery. Despite countless investigations and the tireless efforts of law enforcement agencies, the D.B. Cooper case remains the only unsolved commercial airline hijacking in history. Theories abound, suspects have been named and dismissed, but the true identity of D.B. Cooper has remained elusive. Despite the passage of more than 50 years, the question still lingers: who is D.B. Cooper? Despite countless investigations, the identity of D.B. Cooper remains a mystery, until now. Our story begins on a chilly November afternoon in 1971. An ordinary day, but not for long. A man known as Dan Cooper, later to be famously misidentified as D.B. Cooper, strides into Portland International Airport, Oregon. He's a nondescript figure, donned in a suit and carrying a briefcase. Nothing out of the ordinary yet. Cooper purchases a one-way ticket for Flight 305 to Seattle, a mere 30-minute hop. As the plane, a Boeing 727, takes to the skies, Cooper calmly lights a cigarette and orders a bourbon and soda. Then, the ordinary turns extraordinary. He passes a note to the flight attendant, Florence Schaffner. Thinking it's just an unwanted advance, she slips it, unread, into her purse, but Cooper insists, "Miss, you better look at that note, I have a bomb." The note, never to be seen again, reportedly stated that Cooper had a bomb in his briefcase. He demanded 4 parachutes and $200,000 in $20 bills. The audacity of it, a hijacking in midair. But what's even more striking is the meticulousness of the plan. Cooper knew exactly what he was doing. He was familiar with the aircraft, the area, even the weather conditions. The flight lands in Seattle. The passengers are exchanged for the ransom and parachutes. Cooper instructs the pilots to set a course for Mexico City, with specific instructions about the altitude and speed. And then, somewhere between Seattle and Reno, in the cloak of the night and the pounding rain, D.B. Cooper does the unthinkable. He lowers the aft stairs and jumps into the unknown with the ransom strapped to his body. As Cooper disappeared into the night, the legend of D.B. Cooper was born. The audacity, the meticulous planning, the daredevil escape, all these elements coalesced into one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century. A man vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a tie, a name, and a story that continues to captivate us to this day. In the wake of Cooper's daring escape, a peculiar piece of evidence was left behind. A tie, unassuming yet critical, was discovered on the plane that Cooper had hijacked. This wasn't some high-end fashion accessory, it was a simple necktie purchased from JCPenney in the year 1964. Its ordinariness, however, belied the secrets it held. The tie wasn't just a forgotten piece of apparel, it became a treasure trove of clues. You see, it wasn't the tie itself that was of interest, but rather what was on it. A unique particle, microscopic yet significant, was found on the fabric. This wasn't something you'd expect to find on a piece of clothing. It was a particle that belonged to the world of industry and manufacturing, a world far removed from the mundanity of a JCPenney tie. This particle was traced back to Crucible Steel of Pennsylvania, a company known for its production of titanium and stainless steel. Now, why is this significant? Well, Crucible Steel was a major supplier for Boeing, the very company that manufactured the plane Cooper hijacked. This connection, however, didn't just tie Cooper to Crucible Steel, but it also linked him to a specific region and industry. The particle on the tie was like a breadcrumb left behind by Cooper, a breadcrumb that led investigators away from the usual suspects and towards a world of metallurgy and aircraft manufacturing. It suggested that Cooper may have had a connection to this industry, possibly even working within it. It was a hypothesis that had never been considered before, a new lead in the case that had grown cold over the years. With this tie, a new lead was born, pointing towards the world of titanium and stainless steel. This single piece of evidence opened up a new line of inquiry, one that could potentially solve one of the most enduring mysteries in aviation history. Who was D.B. Cooper and how was he connected to Crucible Steel? The answer, it seems, lies in the tie that binds. Enter Eric Ulis, an amateur sleuth who believes he has cracked the case wide open. Ulis, an ordinary man with an extraordinary fascination for the D.B. Cooper case, has spent countless hours poring over the evidence, connecting dots, and chasing leads. His tenacity led him to a unique particle found on Cooper's tie, a particle that could only come from a very specific source. Ulis traced this particle back to Crucible Steel of Pennsylvania, a leading supplier of titanium and stainless steel for Boeing aircraft in the 60s. This was a significant discovery, as the tie Cooper wore during the hijacking was purchased from J.C. Penney in 1964. The tie, left behind on the plane, became a crucial piece of evidence in this enduring mystery. But how did this particle end up on Cooper's tie? And what does it mean? Well, Ulis has an intriguing theory. He believes the particle could only have come from a certain type of engineer, a titanium research engineer. This revelation led him to identify a specific person of interest, someone who fits the profile perfectly. This individual was a titanium research engineer from Pittsburgh who worked at Crucible Steel. What's even more compelling is that this person was in Seattle at the time of the skyjacking. Could it be that after all these years, the identity of D.B. Cooper is finally within reach? Could this person of interest be the infamous skyjacker himself? Ulis's investigation, thorough and meticulous, has breathed new life into this cold case. His findings have raised new questions and reignited the intrigue around the only unsolved commercial airline hijacking in history. Could this be the breakthrough the world has been waiting for? Only time will tell. As the investigation continues, the world watches with bated breath, hoping for a resolution to this decades-old mystery. The implications of this new evidence are staggering. Imagine, after more than half a century of speculation, countless theories and a myriad of suspects, we might finally be on the verge of solving the only unsolved commercial airline hijacking in history, the enigmatic D.B. Cooper case. Eric Ulis's discovery could be a game-changer. The tie, a seemingly innocuous piece of evidence, could be the key that unlocks this enduring mystery. The unique particles found on it, traced back to Crucible Steel of Pennsylvania, a major supplier for Boeing, could point directly to the true identity of D.B. Cooper. Consider this: if Ulis's person of interest, a titanium research engineer from Pittsburgh who worked at Crucible Steel and was in Seattle at the time of the skyjacking, is indeed Cooper, it would not only solve the mystery but also rewrite the narrative we've known for decades. It would reveal Cooper as a man with intimate knowledge of the aviation industry, someone who possibly used his expertise to plan and execute the perfect crime. This revelation could change how we view D.B. Cooper. He would no longer be the shadowy figure of lore, but a real person with a name, a face, a profession. It would bring closure not only to a historical mystery but also to the countless people who have been captivated by this tale for generations. Yet, let's not forget, this is still a theory, albeit a compelling one. There's a long road ahead. Testing needs to be done, evidence needs to be verified, and questions need to be answered. However, it's an exciting prospect, a ray of hope that the truth is within reach. The D.B. Cooper case, once a mystery shrouded in darkness, may finally be stepping into the light. Stay tuned as we continue to follow this riveting story.